Since the beginning of time, mankind has striven to double and redouble his powers.
A mysterious machine has appeared in homes across America.
All right, baby.
Increase the power of the unit 40 times.
32X.
Welcome to the next one.
You spill your drink? I don't have a drink. Uh-oh.
Last week we talked about 3 awesome arcade ports brought home to the Sega Genesis through the Sega 32X, and today we're going to cover 3 more great arcade ports that are worth playing today on your Sega 32X. So without further ado, let's get started.
Welcome to NBA Jam!
In 1995, NBA Jam Tournament Edition was released for the Sega 32X. Of course, it was released on several consoles. It was also released on the PC as well. And there really isn't a whole lot I can tell you about NBA Jam Tournament Edition that you probably already don't know. But what I can tell you is that the 32X version is one of the best. And a lot of people didn't play this version, of course, because they didn't have a Sega 32X. But if you do have a 32X, or if you're thinking about picking one up, make sure and get NBA Jam Tournament Edition for the 32X. It is awesome. And I will tell you that there is a video by Genovi out there that really digs deep into all the different ports, and it really compares them, and I mean, he goes into depth. Of course, Genovi's amazing, and I'll leave a link to his video in the description, of course. But this is a solid port, man. The sound effects, music, pretty good. But the graphics, the speed of the game, the playability, how fast you can play a game, of course it's a great pick up and play game. Some of the other versions though, and if you watch Genovi's video you'll see this, take longer to play a game. And this is an arcade game, man. You want to pick it up and play and go. And the Sega 32X and the Atari Jaguar, in my opinion, have the best 2 ports of NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and I would put the Sega 32X under the Atari Jaguar. But man, I'll tell you what, it's a great port. If you have a Sega 32X, you're thinking about picking one up, man, pick up NBA Jam Tournament Edition. You will not be disappointed.
Boom shakalaka! Boom shakalaka! Slam it! Welcome to the fantasy zone. Get ready.
In 1994, Sega released Space Harrier for the Sega 32X. And man, this is a near perfect arcade port of the 1985 arcade game Space Harrier. What a great game this is. Really at the time this was the best version of Space Harrier that you could play. It really did a great job. The color palette is spot on. The sound effects and music are on point. And man, it runs at a very smooth, fast frame rate as well. Now there are some frame rate drops, of course, when there's too many sprites on the screen, but man, I don't notice it. Just to being able to play this game at home and being able to play a near arcade perfect port at home was awesome, man. That's one thing that the Sega 32X did, and we saw that in the first 3 games in the first part of this video series, is port some really great arcade games home to the Sega 32X. And as far as that goes, the add-on, the 32X was not a failure in my eyes as far as what it could do, and it was a budget way to get into a 32-bit system. And just remember, there was no 32-bit SNES. So man, if you get a chance to play Space Harrier on the 32X, do it, because it is a great port and it is just a blast. In 1995, Sega continues its legacy of bringing arcade games home to the Sega Genesis. And it brings home Virtual Fighter to the 32X. Now it looks better on the Saturn, but I'll tell you what, the 32X version is not as buggy as the Saturn version. And it plays fantastic, man. It's got a great frame rate, it plays great. Man, I'll tell you what, you start playing it and it does feel like, you know, once you start getting into it and getting into the moves and playing it, it feels like you're playing the arcade game. It really does. Of course, it doesn't look as good as the arcade, and it's not 100%, of course. But man, it is a great port. And I'll tell you what, if you own a Sega 32X, you have no reason not to pick up Virtual Fighter. Because it is one of the cheapest and one of the most common games you can get for your Sega 32X. So I do really feel like the 3 games that we featured in Part 2 and the 3 games that were featured in Part 1 give you plenty of reason to pick up a Sega 32X if you get a chance, man. It is a blast, and the Sega 32X is a really unique experience. So if you have a 32X, man, I highly recommend Virtual Fighter. Hey, thank you for joining me today, and make sure to stay tuned for our finale, Part 3 of Sega 32X games that are worth playing today. I hope you guys have a great and safe rest of your day.